Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how's it going, pal?
Jimmy, always doing swell when we're on the podcast together. I tell you what, gets me just darn tootin' excited.
That was a very, it was like kind of Western kind of vibe. I like it. I enjoy it.
Yep, I fill Dirty Harry's boots. I roam these parts and wrangle these mongrels.
Wasn't Dirty Harry like a cop in New York or something?
I thought Dirty
Los
Harry
Angeles?
was Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, he was.
You gotta ask yourself, did I shoot five
he
shots
did.
or six?
He's like a modern
Do you
guy.
feel lucky, punk?
Do you?
Do you?
Do you? I do, and everybody else should feel lucky because they're here watching. Oh, good. You should feel lucky. Well, we should all feel lucky. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We like to talk about movies, and games, and TV shows, and theme parks, and music, and all that stuff. But this week, because there wasn't a lot of news, we're going to do something a little bit different. Because if you've been watching this show for a long time, you're going to know that there are two properties or franchises that we love kind of unabashedly, but specific ones from these franchises. So maybe not completely unabashedly. But it's The Lord of the Rings and Jurassic Park. Now, a lot of people who've watched for a long time know that we talk about them so fondly. We hold them up to the highest regard. And for us here, they kind of seem like the tip top of the mountain as far as movies go. And that's Lord of the Rings, like all three of those films. And then the first Jurassic Park. Not Jurassic World or Jurassic Park The Lost World or Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World The Fallen Kingdom. None of that. No, just the first one. And I think many would agree with us because that one's just a freaking cinematic masterpiece. I mean, just the shot of the Velociraptor with the DNA. And anyway, sorry, I digress. However, the real question for many people is, what if we had to pick one that came underneath it? Which one's trying to break into that top echelon, the apex, the climax, the best of the best? We're going to talk about that here today. So you can consider it to be like a bronze place winner if you kind of smash Lord of the Rings together like we do. Kind of we do anyway. I don't know. So it's either like the third place or the fifth place, depending on that. But anyway, Joe, what's your pick for number 3?
See, I knew this would happen. In my opinion, like if I was ranking my favorite movies, I would slide in with the Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd right after that. But
oh yeah, like your personal favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not like a general consensus, but if it were my choice, that's what it would be. But like, should we? I'm trying to. My brain's wrestling with this thing. I'm trying to interpret how we should choose this, and should it be amongst the both of us, like general consensus? Because I think we could do that.
We could. At the same time, I was kind of thinking like if we wanted to make it like action adventure, because both of those kind of are, like I wouldn't say like Lord of the Rings is the greatest like romance of all time, even though there is romantic subplots in that movie. They're just not really pronounced or anything. But like, you know what I mean? Like, and for me, I guess action adventure is like my favorite movie genre. And even though you could kind of call like Lord of the Rings like, mystical or kind of fantasy, I'd still call it like it kind of in the same vein as that. And Jurassic Park could be considered science fiction horror, I guess, too, weirdly. Yeah. But still, I feel like, I don't know, there's just something about them. I don't know what I mean, just like, it's hard to really hit them with a genre, you know what I mean? It's just like, they kind of do everything. And that for me is why they're at the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand. I guess, which makes it all that much more difficult.
Yes.
Let's help each other to get to the bottom of this one, the brass tacks. We go through some, as long as we've been alive, the movies we've seen. What can get in that top 5 echelon?
I already have mine. I just figured that I was like, oh, Joel comes.
Lay it on me. What do you got? Maybe it'll inspire me with a comeback.
All right, Joe. I'm looking for a film that's timeless. I'm looking for a film with some great actors, great acting, great set pieces, a little bit of romance, a bit of action, a bit of horror, a bit of everything. Comprehensive films. And one of the greatest films that I think would come right underneath where if like Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park. the first Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That movie, man, it holds up. Yes, at the very end, there's some kind of weirdness with, like, the ghosts because it was, like, 1980s CGI. That doesn't look great. But, like, watching the bad guys' faces melt and, like, the Nazis get, like, destroyed is pretty great. I don't know. Like, that movie's really, like, man, every time I watch it, I'm like, this is a good movie. And, like, the beginning of that movie, too, to the end is just, like, one iconic set piece and moment after another. Like, that original, like, going into the temple with Alfred Molina, the guy who's like, you toss me the idol, I'll toss you the whip. And the whole, like, the spike trap and the spiders and then, like, the arrows or the darts or whatever. And, like, replacing the idol and then the ball coming out and chasing after them. Like, man, that intro is, like, one of the best. Oh, gosh. It's just so good. You know what I'm talking about, Joe? You know, Indiana Jones. It's so good. It's so good.
You know, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I don't know that I can comment accurately or worthwhile.
Oh my gosh.
But no. I wouldn't disagree with you. I've heard a lot of praise on that film over time.
Oh my gosh. It's so, and like, I feel like honestly it's Harrison Ford's best because like a lot of people remember him from like Han Solo, obviously. But like, Indy is great because not only is he got like the rough and tumble, like, this belongs in a museum, which also sounds kind of bad by like nowadays standards. He's like, I gotta take this from this indigenous people and put it in a museum. But he's also a professor. Like, you get to see his regular life, and he's like trying to get away from his students all the time, and he's just like this boring kind of by the books professor, but he's always getting like money from his university to like go out on these crazy expeditions to bring this stuff back. And I love that about him. You get this duality, this like nature of this guy that you don't normally get with a lot of like characters. He seems more fleshed out. Like, there's more to him than just like, I just adventure to adventure. It's like, nope, I adventure, but I'm also like, I have a day job. Like, I have to go back and do that sometimes. It's not always the most glamorous. And I love a period piece. You know that about me, with Captain America: The First Avenger, set in the 1930s, like the late 1930s. Typically, yeah, I think that's what they are all in. It's like a really cool, interesting time, especially for like an American to get involved with like all of this stuff, like the supernatural stuff, the stuff that the Nazis were hunting before, like, that really took off for America to kind of get involved with it. I don't know. It's just such a good movie. And there's like not one bad performance in the bunch. Like, they're all
Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Yeah, Raiders.
1981.
Baby. I know, and that's like, and again, this is 4 years after the first Star Wars. So think about that too. But yeah,
you can look that up, and they have it in like the top 10. I think it's number 7.
On which site?
Just Google.
Okay, sure. But yeah, that's just one, I guess, for me that like it just holds up. I watched them all recently. I'm not a huge fan of Temple of Doom. I think Last Crusade is even better than that. But the first Raiders of the Lost Ark is like just the best. I think it's the best representation. It's like Jurassic Park. It's like the first one, they nailed it. They got it perfect, and I'm just like, that was great. Like, even the bad guys, they've got like your classic, like, I'm just a bad guy and I'm going to be evil all the time. And then there's like the bad guy who kind of has a turn. His name is Belloc. He's this French, like, kind of indie foil where it's like if Indiana Jones had no morals and stuff and he was kind of a bad guy, like Belloc is that guy. But then you've got like, oh my gosh, why can't I think of her name right now? Raven's, what is that her name? Raven? Marion, his partner in crime. She's amazing. She's a strong female protagonist, and they like work together. And she's not always the damsel in distress. She has like a moment or two where she is, but she'll fight people and she'll mess people up. But she's really cool. And there's like that whole set piece in Nepal where the whole like building catches on fire. Oh man, dude, it's a good movie. Like, go check out Raiders. Everybody go watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. It holds up remarkably well. Like, most all of it's practical effects too. Like, that is what I love about this movie. There's this sequence kind of like 3/4 of the way through where they were broken out of a pyramid, because this movie's nuts. They break out of a pyramid and they're like, Indy, the Ark, which is the kind of in the name, the Ark is on a truck and it's headed for Cairo. And Indy's just like, what truck? And then it cuts to like this truck convoy, and Indy like single-handedly fights his way all the way to get to this truck, and he takes out all these dudes on the way. And this is after he fought this gigantic man who he ended up just like fighting to like, the guy was beating the crap out of him, but then Indy like ducked and the guy got hit by a propeller from an airplane and just got messed up. So good. Like, that movie's, it's like a ridiculous fun ride, and I just love it so much. I love Sala, the guy John Rhys-Davies who plays freaking Gimli is in here. He's just like the king almost of like he knows everybody in Cairo. Like, oh, man, they go all over the world in this movie. It's so good. It's a planet hopping adventure, and everybody's great. I'm trying to think if there's anything I don't like about this movie, but I don't think there is. It's super good. Let me inspire you to go watch it, Joe. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. Spielberg, one of his best. And it was him and George Lucas together. Working together. Buddies. Pals. Yeah, and then ever since then, they haven't really found a good movie that they did together. But that first one, cinematic gold, baby. Cinematic gold. Okay, so what do you think about Raiders?
I think it's a good pick. I mean, from what I hear, I honestly can't remember it very well. I've seen bits and pieces. Is there a moment where he falls into a snake pit or something?
Yes. So they end up throwing him into a buried like part of a pyramid that is full of snakes. Yep. Yeah. And he breaks out. It's pretty good.
So here's one for you, and this one probably won't resonate with a lot of the mainstream, but the movie Alien, the original, 1979.
And why?
It is... So I remember my parents describing that to me when they saw it. You know, at the time, they were probably about my age. And back then, movies of this caliber, sci-fi horror, didn't really exist at this level. And so something new. It was like when Jaws came out. That was kind of a similar vibe. But I remember my mom saying when she went to see it with her friends that people actually walked out because they got so scared. You know, if you think about it, something that came on the scene in today's time, modern day, maybe not, it might not be received as well because just another CGI monster, another monster. You think, okay, whatever. But back then it was so unique, and it wasn't like little green men like everybody, you know, pop culture assumed an alien to be. They really like delved into some science on the whole thing, and created this whole story and history in that moment. And based off of the art of some artist that had a bit of a twisted mind, you know, they created something iconic and unique that just kind of struck a chord with people. I think the fact that design it's sexy, yet it's like looking at a scorpion, like kind of neat, but you know you can't get too close because it'll sting you. Because it's dangerous at the same time. There's just something about it, like, and maybe it's just me, but the art and the style of it really resonates and kind of hits home. But back then, you know, going back to that moment, I remember her saying like people were on the edge of their seats. They were screaming out audibly in the theater. You know, it was just downright scary. And for a sci-fi movie that in today's world might not be as successful, back then it was kind of a little bit of a movement for a moment, you know, where the general population would go to see that movie just because it was a spectacle at that time. In that regard, I feel like it almost broke a barrier, I think, and created a home for movies of that genre, you know?
Sure. I guess my question is, besides the design of the alien, you've been talking about that a lot. You haven't mentioned the acting of the cast, the sets, or anything else. Like, is there something, if you took the alien out of that, because you don't see the alien much, what else about this movie do you feel makes it want to be in that upper echelon?
Well, the setting is good, you know, the whole space thing, and they're on this giant cargo ship, and there's this company background, you know, transporting these creatures for research purposes, that sort of thing. What's Ripley, the character alone, I forget her real name, Sigourney Weaver, you know, embodied that character, turned that character into something iconic, and has kind of lived on for a long time, you know. And just the fact that they kind of, they also did things where, the acting, I don't know that there's anything really to call out there. I mean, it was the first big screen, silver screen show for a feline cat, but no, I'm just kidding.
That's why it's not in the top. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess I'm having a hard time making a case for it. It's more of a personal thing again. I don't know.
I'll help you make a case for it. How about that? Okay,
Yeah.
so I think if you watch this, even though I cannot remember the names of any of these people besides Ripley, I think the cast is pretty good. Like, you like them enough, and then there's kind of that fun reveal that there's, like, this dude on there who happens to be an android, so, like, you start not trusting anybody, and they do start getting picked off one by one, which adds this kind of psychological torment to it. There is one moment, though, however, which I think could be a lot better, but there's somebody with a flamethrower in the ventilation shaft, and they finally turn and see it, and it just, like, puts its arms out. It's like, hey! And then it does that, but then it, like, cuts. It's almost like, hug me! It's like they probably could have done something a little different, but that original reveal of the actual xenomorph, dripping the saliva and all that stuff, that's really good.
And the whole acidic properties of the blood and the whole secondary mandible mouth deal.
Yeah, no, it's good. But then again, like I said, we can't, like, the sets...
base it on the design.
Yeah, the sets are amazing, though, too. Like, it would be... if you just had this thing in a field by itself, it'd be like, but the mystique, it's like the first Jurassic Park. You don't see it enough, and then you get, like, the idea of how it moves through things, and then you get, like, on the little radar, that thing, it's like, it blips, and you're like, it's right on top of me, but there's all these vents and all these things, so you never really know quite where it is. And
the mysteriousness kind of set the scene for you and creates that vibe and keeps you on the edge of your seat. Whereas, nowadays they CGI something and you see it all the time. It's like running down a sidewalk after somebody. Well, that just doesn't jive with today's audience. And back then that was the whole thing. Yeah, you didn't get a lot of it. You just got glimpses of it that really made you fear for the characters, kind of pulled you in, right?
Yeah. Do you think the finale is kind of weak, though, just because it's like it's like in the little pod with her and it like waits to attack her, like that moment where it's like, oh, I got out. Thank goodness it didn't get out with me. And then it's like in the thing with her and it's like waiting for her.
So now I can't remember because I get them. Problem is I get them all confused. But this is the one where they created that genetic mutation, right? Doesn't she fight it with the robot loading?
Nope, that's Aliens.
Okay, all right.
That's at the end because she has to go stop the queen, and then they do the airlock thing to the queen too. A lot of these movies end with like an alien getting sucked out an airlock. It's like put it in the airlock or like shoot a window and it gets like pulled through the window, like that. Yeah. This one is she gets in like the pod, like the escape pod, and it's like still there with her, and she like shoots it out, and then she's safe. She has to get the cat, which I respect that she goes back to get the cat. So like she wants to save the cat. Like that's fine,
See, I just blundered my whole pick because I can't even differentiate the two.
Well, that's the problem is with those movies, like the first Alien is very like methodical, psychological, and body horror, right? There's that one. Yeah. Aliens is like, it tries to be more action heavy, and I feel like, honestly, Aliens is weaker because it takes the one cool thing about the xenomorph and ruins it by being like, what if there were like 1,000 of them? It's like... True. Okay, like not as scary. The queen is cool.
But so in that one, that's where they have them in the pods or the cages, and they turn and kill the weak one, right?
That is Alien 4.
That's even later?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh my god, yeah, I have to go back and watch all these consecutively
Alien,
just to get them straight.
Is it called Resurrection or something? Yeah, that's the one where that guy, like the scientist, is like breathing against the glass. Yeah, no, that's 4. That's one where Sigourney Weaver totally like dunks on somebody or whatever. Yeah, she's got the alien blood. Yeah. But Aliens is the more action heavy one, and that's what the problem. I think Aliens kind of ruins the first Alien because Alien, it's just like it's killing people, but then in like Aliens, they're trying to get more people to make more xenomorphs, but the only way you make more xenomorphs is if you have a queen. So if you have an isolated xenomorph on a space shuttle or station or whatever, then it is still scary, but it's like, what's it gonna do? Is it's not like eating the people, it like kills them, right? But it's not gonna like make
a little bit and saves
and it leaves,
the
yeah, but it's not like bringing it to a queen because the queen doesn't exist. So it's like the thing is gonna die eventually, right? Because it's not gonna have any sustenance. Like that's my only problem with it.
No, you don't understand the xenomorph. They can live long periods without food. They're like a snake. They can go a year without it.
Really? Because they seem so hungry. They seem just so... It's like the
Velociraptors.
Velociraptors.
They seem so hungry. It's like the Velociraptors
yeah,
in Jurassic Park.
They'll kill everybody. They're like, I will never be full. Like, I want to see just a chunky Velociraptor with a big swinging belly that's just like, I can
barely run, and it's just like...
They're like top speed 60 miles per hour in a field, but low speed, minimum speed 6 miles per hour. Oh god, I'm really slowing down here. These humans, they're really fattening.
On a gluttonous day, a high of 6.
Yeah,
6 miles per hour.
So this movie that you're recommending is all the Alien movies, the best parts.
Yeah, we blew it apart. Let's just say they're up there in the top 10s for me is kind of favorite movies that I'll sit down and watch. There are some bad ones though. Like I don't necessarily like the Colonial Marine one or whatever.
That's the second one. Do you like 3? That's the prison one. I remember watching some of that with you and then checking it out.
I hate the prison one. The prison one's really
stupid.
weird.
It's so stupid.
The first one's just a classic. Resurrection I kind of like.
Yeah, Resurrection is just fun. But I think the first one is still like, it's tippity top.
Yeah.
It started something.
It did. And the fact that they went and they like the thing that gets me the most is like they based it off of like some guy that thought that was just really artistic and he drew really crazy stuff. H.R. Geiger, look it up sometime and you'll be really weirded out. But that's what the idea or concept for the alien and the queen alien and all that came from, the xenomorph. So, and what a cool thing, like scientifically, like the whole metamorphosis thing, or like the parasitic thing where like it uses a host to create one that bursts out. I mean, it's all kind of just creative. I mean, yeah, it's grotesque, but it was fitting, right?
Yeah.
And just all a cool concept. And they did something where, and that's what made it even cooler is that it's not just the xenomorph you're worried about. It's like, it's the whole cycle of it. So like they stumble into a chamber with a bunch of the egg sacs or whatever, and boom, there you got a face hugger.
Yeah.
Those are more scary to me than the xenomorph, man.
Oh, for sure. And I also unfortunately started the trend of like a scientist. Well, these were engineers, so it's a little more forgivable. I'm not saying, I shouldn't say that. These weren't even engineers. A lot of them were just people who just like were flying a spaceship, so they didn't necessarily know. But a lot of just like the whole like, if you see this thing in an environment that you're unfamiliar with, an alien environment, you're like, it opens up and you're like, I might as well stick my head right over there. You're like, you're almost
what the hell is going on in there?
Like a fly to a Venus flytrap. It's just like, and then like every alien movie after it was like some dummy has to be like, oh, what's in here? It's like
I know that is true. Like burn it with fire.
It's like, remember in the last one, Alien Covenant, where that like Michael Fassbender, the bad one, was like, hey, like I hate you and I'm gonna kill everybody, but you should follow me to my basement. And then that other guy's like, I think it's like Billy Crudup or whatever, he's like, I'll follow you down to your basement. It's like,
yeah, right.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's when it started to except I shouldn't say that because I love Predator. And they've really botched Predator recently, so, like, what do I freaking
Recently, they just took Predator and scrambled it like eggs in a blender and added some garbage in there for good measure.
It's so horrible. Oh, my gosh. Like, it's just so bad.
Yeah, so speaking of movies that aren't in our top 5.
In the bottom 5.
Yeah.
Like, bottom 5 forever. But anyway, okay.
My movie prowess isn't as good as I thought. Because I'm trying to, I actually went and just for a little inspiration, I was like top action movies of all time. And I'm like, like Die Hard. I mean, people call it a Christmas movie and whatnot and all that bull crap. I'm just like, man, I don't even remember it. I just don't, I didn't care about it.
I also think for me, like, I have to wait like a couple of years, maybe even like 5 years before seeing a fresh like new movie before I can put it in like a top 10 of all time. For instance, like Infinity War, Endgame, or Mission Impossible Fallout. All amazing. Yeah. I love them all so much. But like with Indiana Jones, I'm like, okay, they came out, like you said, it was like 81. Like I can be like, I'm like, yeah, exactly. But I'm hoping that like, in 20 years or whatever, I can look back on like Mission Impossible Fallout and be like, I saw that in theaters and it was amazing. And like it holds up.
Yeah.
Maybe the helicopter bit at the end doesn't as much, like the CG part of it, but like him actually flying the helicopter is like, that's real. It's like that stuff is gonna hold up, and that's why I think Indiana Jones holds up, and that's why I think Mission Impossible will do the same over time. People will look back and be like, that's how you do it. That right there. Like,
well, like why is the Terminator or Terminator 2 Judgment Day ranked in the top 5 of all time? Like,
people really like that because James Cameron for that and Aliens kind of came in and took like the original concept and then like kind of cranked it up like a bit, and that I think a lot of people really like both those sequels because he kind of did them. I can't really say here or there. It's been a long time since I've seen the first Terminator or Terminator 2, so I can't say. I don't know.
Rambo, First Blood, Kill Bill's in here. The Raid 2, I don't even know what that is.
I gotta
Mission
see that.
Impossible Rogue Nation, good movie.
That's a good one. People forget about it though.
The Bourne Ultimatum, I don't think I've seen any of the Bourne movies.
They're fine. They just don't. They were the first people like to almost exclusively use handheld cams, so that's like what started a little bit more of the shaky cam stuff. I'm sure it started beforehand, but like the entire movie is just like someone like holding a camera, like doing this. It's like, yeah. Not
John
bad
Wick
movies.
6, Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. Number 7, The
Like
Killer.
I said,
don't even know what
they don't have to be action, adventure, fantasy, or whatever. It's just like I like movies that just seem to kind of get all of it. And one of the reasons why, I think not that like Alien because it didn't have romance doesn't like stack up for me, but like I like that there's a little bit of that in Indiana Jones. It's not the whole focus of the movie, but like it's just part of it. I like that. It's a driving force. Especially when these two have had like a past and they have to like come back together to work together. You're like, okay, I feel that. Like I like that sort of thing. That's like it's like Arwen and Aragorn. Like they're not together a lot, but you get that like one of the motivations for him is Arwen. So it's like, like you know, I like that sort of thing. It's okay. I think it's fine. And Ripley, she loved her cat. It's a platonic love, but she went back for it. A driving force. That's why
people say that Aliens 1986 is a bigger deal and better.
I think it's just what you're looking for.
Queen and everything.
Yeah, I think it's just what you're looking for. Like they're just so different. It's just so. It's like comparing like if Aliens is like Infinity War. It's like comparing that like an Alien to like the very first Iron Man or Captain America or something. It's like it's much smaller scale, and it's like. You can't expect that. And then Aliens, they're just like, it's everything. Everybody's shooting everything. And I don't know. That one's more fun. Like, the first Alien is not a fun movie. Like, you don't watch it, you're like, ooh, I'm so excited. Like, Aliens is like, oh, look at that. Just shooting everybody's blowing up. Like, things are exploding. Ripley's got some one-liners and stuff. But, like, that first Alien is not fun. Not fun.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't say, like, Iron Man is not fun or Captain America. Those movies are fun. I don't know. There's not a good MCU movie that's not fun. All those movies are fun. Good for them. It's like Thor: The Dark World. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know there's a movie out there that I've seen that would just like be it, right? Like I know there's something like, oh, this is on TV and I just gotta watch it. I'll sit here for 3 hours and watch it, even the commercials. But it's not coming to mind.
That's okay. That's okay.
Lord of the Rings and Jurassic Park just stole it from me.
They're just so good. I mean, like I try to think about rewatchability. And with like Jurassic Park, usually when like credits hit, I almost could just just go right back to the beginning and be like, all right, let's start with that Velociraptor enclosure. Like I just like right back to the beginning. I could do that. With Lord of the Rings, I feel like I need a little time though. Like I need like a year or so. I'm like, oh, that was emotional. But one other movie.
It's so long. It's hard to go from Return of the King back to the beginning.
Yeah,
like,
back to Fellowship.
Go.
Just Galadriel just going like, I can feel it in the water. I can feel it in the air. It's like, but I think another movie though, and again, I'm not saying this is instead of Raiders. I still think Raiders is going to be that top, but in that top 10, if we're just kind of throwing a few names out there, I feel like Ocean's 11 still sticks with me. It's a really fun movie, like, and it holds up pretty well. And for a cast as big as that, it could easily devolve into them just like doing it for the paycheck where they're all kind of bored. But I think all of them are having fun. And they look like they do enough with each of them so you get like a sense of who they are, which is so tough to do in the first movie of a franchise, to introduce 11 or like 13 people basically, and just be like, all of them, like you get them. You're like, okay, I get what you're doing.
So speaking of something like that, you ever think back to the movie National Treasure? I'm talking about the first one.
Dude, I was watching the sequel with my family the other day, but then the first one came on. Those movies are addicting. Like you start watching them and you're like, I'll just watch 5 minutes, then you're like, I'm watching this whole thing, aren't I? Yep.
Dude, the one good thing that I think Nick Cage did, like that was
for sure.
that first movie. There's something, the intensity and the fact that it's like enthralled in American history and the mysteriousness and the fact that it's like it literally is like it's a turn by turn suspense thriller almost with action, but historical and just kind of witty, like very creative. And it's just fast paced. Like, we got to do this. We got to do this. Move this, boom, boom. And they got to figure it out as they go. But then the action ensues. It's like, I actually think back to that, and that was a really good movie.
I completely agree with you, and I really want the third one. I will say this. What I like about them is how, okay, they're not completely realistic, right? But I love that in both cases, in both films, the bad guy is just a dude with a gun. And he's like the bad version of Nicolas Cage's character. He's just like, it'll be just like a guy who's got a couple of henchmen, and he has guns, and they, like, Nicolas Cage and his crew decide never to use weapons. Because, like, they could have easily turned the tide. They'd be like, hey, we know he's going to be at this next place. Let's all buy shotguns and wait for him. Like, they don't do that. They're just like, we just got to figure out this. We got to figure this out, because it's just like, I don't know. And also in America, we don't really, like, have a lot of, what's the word? We don't look and say, like, oh, we have a bunch of treasure buried here, like, that could exist, because we just kind of, I feel like, as the progress of colonialism rolled through, it just kind of ripped everything apart. But, like, the thought of having, like, some secret treasure here in the States is, I don't know, it just seems kind of fun, like, that, and it wouldn't exist,
Definitely was.
But it's still cool to think about. And, like, the funny thing is, like, spoiler alert, in both movies, they find, like, just gigantic rooms full of gold. And it's like, here you go. But, yeah, I like it. And you do learn a little bit, like, as you watch these movies. Like, I didn't know there were two Resolute desks. There's one in the White House, but then there's one, like, in Buckingham Palace. I think that's what it is, right? I think so. And there's two Statues of Liberty. I didn't know that either. I think there's two, right? Or was it just a gift from France? Is there only one Statue of Liberty? Clearly they failed me.
Gift from France.
I thought there was two. Is there two?
Yeah, there's one in Vegas. It's not real.
Not that one. I swear France has one. I feel like I have to look it up. But it's fun. And there's even a moment in the second one where he kidnaps the president. But in the first one, you get that amazing line where he's like, we're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Like, and he goes to, he takes the Declaration of Independence, which would be a straight up treasonous crime that you could not get out of here. If you did that today, if you successfully did it, they would kill you. It'd be done. It would be just so done. But yeah, I like that movie a lot too. I'd say it's a fun one.
The Declaration of Independence, the chances of getting that are well, I don't know. They do a good job in the movie on how they got it. It wasn't an easy feat,
Oh no, definitely not. Are there any others that you want to make a pitch for top 5/3?
Yeah, see, the pitches I'm making aren't top 5 worthy, but they're up there. They're worthwhiles, And we're kind of keeping it like old school. Like, I still think The Great Outdoors, man.
Okay. And
let me make a pitch for The Great Outdoors.
Make a pitch for The Great Outdoors.
Hear me out. John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, legends, right? Those names, you know them. If you don't, shame on you. Turn the podcast off. I don't even want you to listen anymore. I'm just kidding. Listen, you need to be learned. You need to know. First of all, so The Great Outdoors, 1980. Oh, you look it up, Jimmy.
I'm looking it up.
Classic comedy, and we don't have any pitches for comedy yet. I
got it.
The Great Outdoors.
It's right here.
Okay.
I got it. Release date was 1988, June 17th.
Yeah. Okay. They don't. Here's the thing. It only has a 6.6 on IMDb. Ew. Well, here's the thing. Comedy today tries too hard Tell me I'm wrong.
Uh,
You can't, because I'm not.
oh, sorry.
I'm right. Back then, it was all plausible stuff. They didn't try too hard. They acted the part, and they didn't try to oversell it.
Okay.
You know, it was believable slapstick comedy, things that could actually happen. It wasn't Kevin Hart trying to do something crazy to get you to laugh. You know, that was not believable, or it was clearly pigeonholed, right? This stuff was like one-liners, snarky writing in dialogue between characters. Like, hot dogs, eh, Chet? You know what those are made out of? Lips. That's what started that. The lips and assholes thing. I mean, come on, it was great. The whole story about the bald-headed bear and Dan Aykroyd. Oh God, I almost had a heart attack. The twins that stare at him like a rack of yard tools at Sears, and comments like that. When they go in to root out the bat in the middle of the night, and they're wearing like a laundry basket on their head, and they have like brooms and tennis rackets on broom handles. I mean, you don't beat that stuff anymore. Nowadays, it's like, I got to slide down the side of a building and get caught in the arms of the Rock, or shit like that. Back then, it was good, like clean, believable comedy. Like something that you would have happen on a family vacation if you had a really funny uncle and some alcohol. You know what I mean? There's something wholesome about it and relatable that makes it a lot of fun to watch. I have watched that movie so many times over. The raccoon moment. They like, who thought it'd be a creative, fun thing to like the garbage cans outside after they had the lobster and hot dogs. The raccoons come and one of the raccoons, they do the closed captioning, and the raccoon saying to the other one, like, "Oh, it looks like they had hot dogs, huh? You know what those are made of? Lips and assholes." You know, like, oh, these guys had lobster tails, and I just love it. Like, it's comedic, good music that fits the movie. And like old dive bars in the Northwoods and stuff, and they kind of capitalize on that vibe. The guy who got struck by lightning sitting at the bar, like, oh yeah, and this is old Reg here. Yeah, you ever see Reg running for the hills? You know there's a storm coming. How many times have you been struck by lightning now, Reg? 6 times. Wow, my God. 66 times. 66 times. Like, it's just freaking great. All audibly laughable moments. Like,
is it
Dan Aykroyd when he's eating the old 76er?
You gotta stop telling the whole story. This is like The Highwaymen, Joe. What if they want to go watch this and they've never seen it before? And you gotta tell them all
you
the
need to
jokes.
go watch it. I think he's had enough. He's eating the whole thing. What are you talking about? There's nothing but fat and gristle on that plate. John Candy's like all full. He's got a belly full of steak, and he's like clinging on the Dan Aykroyd, like, like he can't eat anymore. It's just it's comedic genius. It's just perfect.
Okay.
It's just perfect.
Is it funnier than Billy Madison? Or
they don't do it like that anymore.
Oh. Yep.
Yes. I think it's more clever.
Okay.
It's kind of the same principle as like Christmas Vacation. Those movies, National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, they started to slide downhill as time went on, but like that one kind of hit the peak, I think. And it's that slapstick comedy, it's that creative comedy, it's the stuff that was relatable, like this could happen at your own family gathering. I just like that wholesomeness to it. It doesn't try too hard. It's not. I'm trying to think of a modern, like when you get SNL characters together these days to try and do some comedy. It's like kind of.
Well, I was gonna say we've had that bad experience with Wine Country, so it's like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know that that's even comparable. I think we went into that thinking, well, with this cast, it's got to be hilarious, right? No, I don't think that's what its goal was. But I just they just don't do it like that anymore. Current modern day Adam Sandler, no. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, good stuff in their own right, but very different at the same time. They know they're ridiculous. They know that they're there to be the butt of the joke the whole time. It's just one big joke, right? Um, Whereas this is like, it's real. It's real, and the comedy just kind of oozes and flows, and it doesn't feel forced.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're making a case right now for The Great Outdoors to be the 5th best film of all time. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing right now. And
I mean, for me personally.
That's good. No,
for me personally.
Yeah, and like you said, you've watched it a bunch, which we were talking about earlier. Rewatchability, I think, is something that's really important. At least for me, it is. Even though I don't necessarily like watch these movies on repeat day after day, I know some people. I knew people back in college who were watching like Pitch Perfect like every day. Like I was like, really? I was like,
that was not the worst. It was
kind
of funny, but. Yeah, could I watch it every day? No.
I think we should really do like a top 5 comedies though. Like I should go, I don't think I've seen the entirety of Great Outdoors, but I should watch that. One I would also put up there too. And it's funny because like, it's not every minute you're laughing, but the jokes are so good that they stick with you. That's Mrs. Doubtfire, which I still posit is the greatest cross-dressing movie of all time. It's like where Pierce Brosnan got his start, and like, it's just, that movie is... it's up there too, but I know what you mean by like clever jokes, because that one's supposed to be like, it's not necessarily realistic. I mean, to a degree it is comparatively to something like Billy Madison, which that is just like complete absurdity, or Happy Gilmore, where it's just like, you can just beat up Bob Barker and it's fine, like it's not a thing. Okay, so the ones you've posted today, Joe, are Alien and Great Outdoors. I've come up with Raiders of the Lost Ark and maybe kind of Ocean's 11. I don't know about that one, but I'm interested to hear like what other people think about like this. Like, which of these would you put at the top? Maybe some people would be like, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park don't belong at the top. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice is number 1. Like, and that's for you.
Or The Dark Knight.
A
lot of people.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight is a big deal for people, and I can see how that would be up there for some.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is, I think, out of that trilogy, probably the strongest one, and that one I think can appeal to both of us, because it is as realistic as superheroes get, as realistic as Batman's going to get as a superhero, but and such a hard performance, especially with the whole Joker thing to top. But maybe Joaquin Phoenix will do it. I mean, who knows? Maybe everyone will love that movie. Apparently, there's already buzz around that movie getting like Oscar nominations. I'm like, it hasn't even come out yet, guys. Like just everybody cool. Like, cool your jet. I'm like, that's why I don't trust Oscars anymore. I'm like, you can't be like, yes, it has a lot of buzz around it for Oscars. I'm like, wait till you see it, and then you can be like, just so
The Dark Knight may be the best Batman we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I like, between that, I know so many people out there would be like, and I love him so much, but I can't look at. Why can't I think of his name? He also played Vulture, Batman '89.
Yeah. Now that you say Vulture, I can't think of the name.
I'm so sorry. It's not Kevin Costner. No. He was in Highwaymen. We could do this, Joe. What is his name? No, not Kurt Russell. It's the third one.
I got you.
Thank you. I'm gonna be like, of course it was him.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. A lot of people say Michael Keaton is like the best Bruce Wayne in Batman. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Christian Bale is like the best. He just looks like a Bruce Wayne. When he's sitting in the boardrooms, I'm like, I totally get it. And I know people have a problem with the voice, but like, if you were gonna do this, I would probably change my voice too, because like, a high-profile individual like him, they would put him away and try to get a ton of money from him. So it's like, I get why he did it. But like, The Dark Knight, it's hard to look at that movie and find a lot of faults with it, because it's just so well done. And I think that's probably one of Christopher Nolan's best. I really like Inception. I really like Prestige. I think those ones are also really, really good. But Dark Knight, there's something about that one, and it's just so sad that Dark Knight Rises just got too big for its britches, or it got too weird or whatever. But the first Batman, also Batman Begins, like that's a great movie too. Like I don't know, there's something about that Batman trilogy that I do enjoy. But I think hearing people kind of scream about Dark Knight constantly kind of gets to you. At least it gets to me, where it's like I enjoyed that film, but just like having people like talk to me and like not understanding that any other movie could be nearly as good. There's like, no, there couldn't be any movie as good as that one. Dark Knight's the greatest movie of all time. It's like, whoa. Come on, back up. And it's like, when I tell people I love Lord of the Rings and they say like they hate it or they've never seen it or they don't like it, I'm like, that's fine. That's not for you. It's for me. But yeah, Dark Knight. Joe, that's a good point. Dark Knight's probably up there somewhere, right? Those performances all around. There's not a bad... Oh, one thing, though, I will say that keeps Dark Knight from being in my own personal top 5. I understand it might have been behind the scenes, but the whole Rachel Dawes like switching out that actress like Katie Holmes for Maggie Gyllenhaal. Not that Maggie's bad, but it's just so jarring to me. Continuity is so big in superhero films, and I know they screw it up a lot, but like to have her be like the emotional crux of the film and not be the same person as the first film, it bugs me so much. Like I just don't care. What happens to her. I'm just like, whatever. Like I'm like, it wasn't Katie Holmes. Like Katie, like they like established their relationship from when they were young to like now, and now it's just like they could have just switched her out. It could have been somebody else, and maybe it wouldn't have meant as much. But I was just like, just don't pretend like she's the same person. It's like, ugh. I don't like that. But Aaron Eckhart, also really good in that movie. A lot of people gloss over him for Joker, but they're wrong. Aaron Eckhart, he's super good. It's about what's fair, man. He's just so angry. He's so angry. Anyway, there you go. Those are kind of our little nominations for like what should be around that kind of hovering towards the apex of the mountaintop. But again, I want to hear what everybody else's is. Not even necessarily just for action adventure, but just movies in general. Like, because we love talking about movies. Obviously, you could tell we're passionate about them, and we love chatting about them all the time. So, yeah, just figured we'd just have a little chat about that because there wasn't anything crazy this week. So now we can tell people definitively, or not definitively, what the best films of all time are. Which one day we'll do a top 10 list about it. But I think comedies would be a fun one to do. That's kind of subjective. Because, like, for instance, now since I've seen Pineapple Express, like, again, I'm like, it wasn't as good. But in theaters with my family and friends, hilarious. Like, comedies are very dependent on with whom you're watching. Because you watch by yourself, you might chuckle. You watch with other people, it's much better. Much better. Anyway, Joe, it's time to move into that segment of the show that I like to call and that you like to call
Time Killers.
That's right. It's time for Time Killers. I didn't click off myself, but there you are. There you go. There he is. Okay, anyway.
Time Killers.
There we go. Anyway, it's the games we've been playing, the TV shows, reviewing the movies we've been watching, that stuff. Joe, what have you been killing time with?
Myself, Monster Hunter, Black Flag, all the same things as last time. Nothing too new on the scene for me as of late, but check back with me this September and I might have some things to say. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Which still frustrates me. I can't believe I was in the technical alpha for freaking Ghost Recon. It was in my spam. That's
October, right?
Yeah, but the beta starts in like right around my birthday. I was like, that week with Monster Hunter Iceborne, I'm like,
well, you can purchase Iceborne. We need to play the beta of Ghost Recon.
Yeah, I'll be right for Iceborne. I'll be like day one, and it's cool. I mean, I'll get into it and whatever. Anyway, for me,
I'll be there too.
I've been watching a show that everybody should check out on Hulu. I probably brought it up maybe before on the show a long time ago, maybe even last week. I don't think I did. No, I just restarted. Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls. Don't let it trick you, because it's an animated show on Disney, and a lot of people think it's just for kids. It is not. It's very clever writing. If you like Rick and Morty, one of the guy who created this show is actually pretty good friends with the gentleman who voices, I think, Rick and Morty, and they kind of have little nods to each other throughout these shows. So check out Gravity Falls. It's on Hulu. Watch it up. Joe, you should check it out too. It's pretty fun. It's these two kids go to the Northwest to visit their great uncle Stan for the summer, but there's a bunch of mystical, magical things that are happening, and there's like this crazy plot through line throughout all the episodes. Check it out. It's very good.
I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's actually really well done. And it's just fun, easy watching, and it's just something. It captures the essence of summer and also the Pacific Northwest, which I love because it's like my favorite part in the States. I love a conifer, baby. Anyway, I will briefly talk about this because I don't think anybody really cares, but we'll see. Joe has to get caught up. Watch the first episode of Bachelor in Paradise. It's a great show. Gets me stressed a little bit, and I'm like, because I try to think, if I were on that show, how would I interact with people? And it's just like, and you never really know what people want to do there, like what their real purpose is. Like some people just want to stay on a beach for a couple of weeks. I could respect that, like there's some of those couples which they're just, you could tell they're just like, all right, here's the pact. Like we're not like, we want to find love, but at the same time, I'd love to just be on this beach for a couple of weeks. So I can respect that. But yeah, it's pretty good. But again, like a comedy, I'd rather be watching it with Joe and the wife there, so we can watch it together and pick our favorites and pick our least favorites and all that.
Good commentary for that show.
Oh my gosh, if you guys ever want us to record something like that, we've joked about it in the past, but we are like laughing the whole time. And then last but not least, Monster Hunter. I've been playing a ton of that. I've been helping Levi try to rank up, and that game is still just so much fun. I have a lot of fun with it, and it's just like now that I'm back into it, I don't have to think about all the controls, and I can just kind of play and make jokes and scream and yell and run away, and I do a lot of that. So I'm not the greatest hunter in the world, but I try. I really do try.
You're pretty darn good.
I'm okay. When I'm trying, some days I'm just checked out. I'm like, I don't want to hunt this anymore. Anyway, let's move into that last segment of the show. Community feedback and questions. Questions, baby. All right. Whoa, that's not right. Why does that happen? Anyway, we got this one in from Missile Mage, our dear Missile Mage, over on our Discord, which you should totally join if you're not in it already. He says, or asks us this: what's your favorite video game that doesn't have RPG progression? As in a game that you don't level up in. A game in which you don't level up. Now, Joe, I know this might be kind of a tricky question for you, because even in Call of Duty nowadays, you level up. Because that's just how it goes.
Oh, always have, yeah.
I like Gears of War. That whole game, you do not level up at all. You just get different guns, and it's just like you're still the same person at the end of it that you were at the beginning. You might just have a different weapon with you. But there's something about games like that where you kind of just have to pick up ammo or pick up different guns, and like that's your power. That's kind of interesting to me. Like your person doesn't necessarily get stronger; they're just trying to like survive. That's a pretty good one. Left 4 Dead is another one that's super fun that you don't necessarily ever get stronger in. You just get smarter with your friends. You're like, all right, you watch that way, I'm watching this way, and the zombies are coming in, and freaking shoot them. Another one that you kind of pseudo level up in because they give you different items, but maybe not the same. I always talk about it. I love Pokemon Snap. I just love it so freaking much. I love taking pictures of Pokemon, baby. Like hitting them with little apples and pester balls, and you're like, I'm gonna get it. It's infinite replayability. Super Smash Brothers. It's another game you could technically kind of level up in, but if you're just playing with your buddies, like it's like any fighting game. Like, well, I shouldn't say that because Mortal Kombat you kind of level up in now, but like Super Smash, you don't. You just railing on each other. I think those are the ones. Joe, you got any? Area 51.
What about Overwatch?
That is I would say that one counts because again, like you yourself level up like your profile. But that's just to get loot boxes. So, but Overwatch, it's not like your Tracer is stronger than my Tracer. It's just like you're better with Tracer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like I'm rank 50 and I've unlocked all these weapons and you haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
We all have the same stuff or ability to use the same things. But yeah, I guess you did progress. Like you'd have a bronze or silver medallion. There was like a ranking system. But I don't know if it was for any progression at all, except for loot boxes.
Yeah, and maybe Missile Mage, I'm taking this the wrong way, but like what I'm thinking of is like when he means like in an RPG, like Final Fantasy, like your characters like level up from 7 to 8 and they get stronger because of it. Like, your Winston isn't getting stronger the more you play as Winston. You're just becoming a better player with Winston. Like, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Another one that I thought of, like, just looking up at Just Cause 3, they just give you more stuff to blow stuff up with. Like, you don't really get stronger. Like, you're just like, I have a wingsuit and a parachute and I can blow stuff up. Like, I just like open world games that way that don't necessarily need to give you, like, all of these, like I leveled up and I can do this a little bit better. I can do this a little bit better. Like sometimes you just want to play a game where you don't have to like manage skill trees and stuff, which I'm
What
totally
about The
cool with it.
Witcher? Did you level up in The Witcher, or did you just
Yeah.
uncover more items as you go through?
Yeah, you do. So basically, what happens is you get like you can level up like your swordsmanship, your magic, or like your potions and bombs
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff. So you
Okay, so you do
kind
level
of
up and
yeah,
get stronger.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Even yeah, it's weird. Even role playing games don't necessarily it's so tough because some role playing games you level up, some you don't. Even in this game I've been playing recently, which is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like you do literally level up, but that's more like an action platformer game. But it's still like you're playing the role of Alucard, so it's still like a role playing game. It's a whole thing. Let me see another one. Oh, even in Tomb Raider, you level up nowadays too. That's crazy. Oh, another one that I thought of that you kind of like you force yourself to level up in, but it's really stupid. Like Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell. Like you get some better weapons and like you can level up like your healing and stuff. I don't know, but like you're still
Yeah,
pretty much.
Ghost Recon, you can level up a lot of abilities, drone stuff, quietness.
But your bullets aren't like getting better. Like you can get, I guess you could take a little more damage. Like that one's kind of on the line. I feel like it's still you're playing the role
Yeah.
of a ghost, but at the same time, I don't
Yeah, you're
know.
not a sponge in that game ever. I guess you unlock weaponry or attachments, but those are things you find in the map, so
Yeah,
it's not like you're
yeah,
leveling up per se.
yeah. I think that one's kind of on the line, but I like that one because you just
Yeah,
again like Left 4 Dead, like you get smarter about your tactics, and you're like, all right, you do this, I'll do that. And
yeah.
I'm really hoping, dude, that this next game is just the fact that we can cut through fences. I know it sounds dumb, everybody, but for God's sakes, if they give us a grapple hook, and I guess there's a class-based system in this one too. I'm just so excited for it because I just think they'll add a class later on and be like, this one changes the game because it has a grapple hook. And I'll be like, I'm using that class extensively.
Well,
You know?
you talked about Call of Duty earlier, but technically your level has nothing to do with your blackout ability.
Yeah, it just allows you to get to the better guns.
No, no, like in Blackout,
Okay, not Blackout. Yes, Blackout. Yes,
the
it's a
battle
battle. It's a
royale.
royale. Nope, let's stop him. Stop. Pull the Blackout lever. Oh my God, he's gonna get it. He's gonna be like, well, the Blackout. No, you're right. In battle royale, that's true. You don't level up. I just meant in the multiplayer, right? Because in multiplayer, you play against guys who might you see that they've like prestiged a few times and they stopped and they're like they've got like the best gun, like the Commando back in Blackout.
Yeah, sure. It was a
Black
top
Ops
tier
1.
assault rifle they unlocked or whatever. Yeah, yeah. So multiplayer, it is that way. But like Blackout, that battle royale version, I mean, yeah, you have access to everything anybody else would. Yeah, that guy may have prestige 3 times, but you could easily get the same gun or loadout he did and kill him.
Yeah, oh for sure.
So,
It just depends on where you drop, what you find. And...
yeah, an example. And did he say like your favorite? Because yeah, right now that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's just, you're still playing
Overwatch
that.
is a top tier. Overwatch is a top tier. I'd still go back and play Overwatch given the chance, I think.
Overwatch, I wonder if they keep adding new heroes and I see them pop up every once in a while. I'm like, Overwatch, and then I just am like, not that they need to make Overwatch 2, but like right now I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Is that what it would take to get back into it? Would we get back into it? It was always such a good game. I think more than anything, if they could have bolstered the roster a little more quickly, I get that there's a lot of work that goes into adding a character, like the way they can navigate maps, the balancing, and everything. But they could have added more quickly, and then maybe focus more on maps.
Yeah, maybe. I
think new places and arenas to play in would have made it more interesting and fresh for people.
I think I just saw everything, and that was the thing. Is like in Monster Hunter, there's still like some level of randomness, or it changes every time. And every fight, I would say, in Overwatch is different. But there was no real progression. So that's one of the reasons I think I stuck with it for a while. And then I was like, all right, now I'm just doing loot boxes for skins. Like, I didn't care. I stopped caring. But in Monster Hunter, I'm always like, oh, let me try out a new weapon. And then I'm like, oh, that's a cool weapon. Which ones should I make? And then I'm like, okay, so I should hunt these things again to get this thing to that's like it starts all over again. But Overwatch, you kind of like get all the characters and you're like, here are all the characters. And you're like, I'm just going to try to get better with this character. But you don't necessarily like.
Well, for instance, I know we could go down a rabbit hole here, but like you were a long-time longsword user, kind of strong and true. That was it, longsword
and hammer.
What else? And hammer.
Yeah.
What else now are you mixing in? What other weapons are you trying?
The glaive. The glaive is kind of my new thing. Ever since I guess the behemoth stuff with the Draken armor and the true Gaybolg is the name of my glaive I use a lot, like almost exclusively now.
Glaive,
yeah, with the Dragon Soul. I tried using the bow last night, and the bow is fun, but it kind of lacks the the tangibility of like actually hitting stuff. Like you're so much more like I feel like engaged in a fight when you're using a melee weapon because you have to think about spacing and all that stuff. And with a bow you do too for sure. But like there's something about like doing jumping attacks and like trying to mount the monster. Because like with the bow you can do that, but you shouldn't be. You should be like sitting back in that optimal range, always shooting, always firing, just like damage. And that's not as compelling to me as like the glaive is now, where I'm like, all right, now I'm like get all the buffs, do the jumping attacks, try to mount the monster, try to blow up its face, like all that stuff. It's like, now that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I love the glaive too. You were always focused on like 2 weapons, and you got to like some god tier weapons, the high level stuff, in a couple different trees within longsword and hammer, right? Whereas I was like, that's really cool. I'm gonna make it highest level I can get it, and I have a bunch of different weapons, like just tons of them. And some of them I couldn't quite get to the very top tier. I still need to hunt for. But I noticed that even though I did diversify quite a bit, some of my weapons are similar, just different styles. Like, I have Leviathan's Fury. I did the hammer and the great sword from Valhazak, same properties and everything and all that. So it's not really anything special. It's just, what am I feeling? Do I want to go hammer or greatsword today? But the thing is that there are so many weapon choices. I find myself like, whoa, I've never really used the longsword. I'm going to try it out. I created a bow as well. I want to try that out. I did try the heavy bow gun. But there's still a few that I have not tried or tried to learn. And that's the other fun part about it, is you start to diversify into other weapons that you thought, I don't really want to do that. It doesn't seem like my thing, or looks too complicated. The second you get into it, you're hooked, and you're like, man, it kind of brings new life into the game for you. And then you can go back to the ones that you kind of ignored for a while that you had leveled up, and go back to those and have fun again, and kind of create this unending cycle, which is cool. And here live on the podcast, I want to challenge you. I want to see you, knowing Iceborne's coming out. We're still playing it leading up to Iceborne. We got back into it. I know you diversified. You went to the Kinsec glaive, which I love. Kinsec bros, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're having fun with that. But I want to see you like we should grind a little bit and get you a high level gun lance, or some other sort of weapon that we don't typically use a lot, and kind of just have fun with it. We should try that a little bit. I'd love to see you because a lot of times, like, I like the gun lance a lot, so I'll run that. I want to see Jimmy in there tanking it up. I'd love to see that. I think it'd be cool.
I'll have to try that out along with the regular lance, because I've been thinking about those ones, and it's just a very different play style. I think I usually like to be more mobile, sure. But they're like, all right, you got to sit there. You're like a quarterback almost. You have to be like, I'm going to sit in the pocket. And you just kind of have to sit there and just kind of be like, poke, poke. And you kind of wait for your time, and then you're just like, all right, ready, block. Like, you're not dodging, which is kind of nice, though, too, because I feel like I would get really spoiled with not having to dodge anymore. And then if I went back to, like, the Kinsec glaive or the longsword, I'd be, like, just taking it left, right, like, I'm going to block. And then it'd be, like, a big,
you
like,
can a little bit, but what's underestimated is you think, it's like just stand there, tank it, and kind of take the focus of the monster from your team. But it's more than that, too. I mean, because those weapons, I think they're underestimated in the amount of damage you can really do. Like with the gun lance, it's like boof, 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 and then you shoot like this injection of like explosion into them. And you can also do some aerial attacks that are pretty cool. And then you can do different shots where like he'll like spin the lance and shoot up in the air and reload, spin, and shoot. It's kind of cool. So you can actually hit monsters that are flying above you. But yeah, so all those weapons, they just have their own unique intricacies that make them viable options that, like you look at the hunting sword and shield, it's like, whatever, look at that little, toothpick. Well, it's actually legit and fun. But yeah, all in how you use it. But I think it'd be fun if our team, we kind of went and kind of started with some stuff that we weren't really honed in on, and try something new and get used to it. I think that creates like a challenge that makes it fun. Not to mention something to strive for. Like, I need these parts. Let's go slay this sucker, right?
Exactly.
And I think that breathes life into it as well.
For sure.
So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Plus, we got to prep up. We got to get a bunch of different elementals. You know, what if we need some more thunder elements to go after these iceborne creatures? You know,
I think it's mostly fire, but I mean, they'll probably have a mix of things in there.
Which I don't have a lot of fire. We need to step that up.
Well, that's because a lot of things in this game like had fire built into them, so like you had to use things that weren't fire. So it's kind of like, but yeah, I don't know.
So we need to prepare.
You need to prepare. Gunlance or Lance, I don't care. I'll try either of them. I'll have fun. I'll try it out. I don't care.
Monster Hunter, there was a rabbit hole. We should stop.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but that'll be the show this week. If you guys enjoyed it, or you have a topic or an idea for another upcoming show, all you have to do is just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast. That's all one word. You can tweet it at any of us. You can tweet at the official Critical Reviews Twitter, which is at GoCritical. That's capital G and a capital C smashed together. Or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. But if you want to tweet at Joe, they can tweet at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L. And if you want to reach Levi can be reached at Levi Fletcher. That's Levi like the jeans, and FLETCHER.
Definitely go tweet him. He always says don't tweet at me. Tweet at him. I want both Joe and Levi to just get sucked into Twitter and have a fun time because there's some great people out there on Twitter that actually follow us and we follow in return. That actually, Twitter is like
I catch it now and again.
You know, it's not like a bad thing. Like sometimes Twitter is just like the worst possible place in the world, but it can be. But you know what isn't the worst possible place in the world? Patreon.com/criticalreviews. No, I gotta stop doing these. I gotta stop doing these segues. If you want to support the show and keep us going, please consider throwing us $1 over there, or just supporting us through various means, such as our Spreadshirt over on our Twitch as well. That's another place to do so. Get some cool rewards in the process, especially on the Patreon. That's where you get the rewards. The reward if you buy through Spreadshirt is me just tweeting back at you saying like thanks for if you take a picture with a shirt or a hat, you let me know. But yeah, next week, God, I have no idea what's gonna be. I really don't.
We'll dig up some news. We'll root something up.
I don't know if D23
like a pig looking for truffles.
I think D23 might be this weekend, which is like the big Disney Expo. They have like a super secret panel that they added last minute, so it might be either theme park related, which is a big deal to me, or just movie related or Star Wars related or something. Oh, it might be this weekend. It might not be this weekend. I could be completely wrong about that. Anyway, Joe, thank you for being on. It was a pleasure chatting with you about just like the best films of all time. It was really good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. And for everybody watching at home, love and hugs to all of you. And until next week, just remember to adapt and overcome.